Congressman, did you serve with Tim Waltz?
I think we might have overlapped my first term. I can't remember when he left. Didn't work with him in any significant way. But look, this is a day that I think speaks volumes about the state of the Democratic Party passing over Governor Shapiro. And what was very clearly, I have a professor from the University of Virginia, Larry Sabato, right? You know who Larry Sabato is. Yeah. And Sabato put out and said the Democrat playbook is to do no harm, quote unquote. So I posited today, well, what's that harm that you were referring to? And I pointed out that we know what the harm is, right? Which was to not pick a Jewish governor instead of a basically Hamas sympathetic governor. And I think that's the obvious harm. And Larry won't really admit it. Neither will other progressive radical Democrats.
You do serve with the marquee member of the Minnesota delegation to Congress, which is Ilhan Omar. So
she's excited.
She's thrilled about it. And they just remade their their state flag to very curiously model Ray Charles could see that this is very similar to the Somali flag, and Tim Waltz is loving it, right? Because you must tear down the old structures, decolonization. This is what it means.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, look, this is obviously putting a Minnesotan on the ticket. It kind of harkens back to my youth, 1984. When Walter Mondale was on the ticket. I remember an old Dennis Miller routine in which he talked about Walter Mondale, and he said, this guy makes McGovern look like William the Conqueror. When I went to bed, Reagan had 537 electoral votes and Mondale had 3. I mean, talk about not having a date to the prom. He spent $40 million and I almost tied him, right? That's a Dennis Miller quote from some stand-up in the 80s. But look, here's the deal. If we underestimate this ticket, okay, we underestimate it at our peril. Waltz is a radical progressive Democrat. You rattled off all the list. Carolyn Levitt rattled off the list. Everybody on Twitter is rattling off the list. I've retweeted the list. We'll keep making known the list. But he was actually pretty effective in Minnesota. Minnesota was trending our direction, remember. They had a divided legislature to some degree. And Waltz has embraced the sort of, radical elements of the Islamic push in Minnesota, but he's also advanced DEI, he's also advanced all these, but he's rallied people to get it done. He's basically been the DeSantis of Minnesota, right? He's been being effective, moving it to the left, the hard left. So, we underestimate that, and we think Harris Waltz is just something we can tiptoe through. It's a mistake. In fact, it's showing that they're cocky. They're confident. They wouldn't pick somebody with such a radically progressive agenda, pass over 19 electoral votes with a Jewish governor from Pennsylvania if they didn't think they could.
So thinking of things that are unspeakable, things that you can't imagine doing but did happen, we do have the proof here. I was told this morning by somebody who lives and runs a very successful business in Minnesota who wants to leave on a phone call because I wanted to get sort of the rundown on Tim Waltz. And he says, do you know that his daughter was tweeting line positions of the National Guard? And we actually have those tweets right here. I want to confirm this. The guard cannot be sent in within minutes. It takes time to deploy because they come from all over the state. To be clear, the National Guard will not be present tonight. This is Hope Waltz. This is his psychotic little daughter tweeting about when and how long the looters have to pillage and destroy their state. It was like, bro, what is this?
Yeah, I mean, look at her. She's retweeting these guys saying, get everyone out, and she's trying to advocate for those. I mean, and by the way, the photographs and the video from 2020, from the BLM riots in Minnesota, if nothing else, that should serve as the image that represents this governor and this presidential nominee's pick for her vice presidential running mate. Literally flames all around with these radical protesters, so-called protesters, sitting right in front of the police station where they've taken it over, destroyed it, and there's flames all around it. The city's engulfed in flames. I saw a video, I think it was, I don't like to give out misinformation. I think I remember seeing a video of Waltz's, I guess the first lady of Minnesota or whatever, talking about smelling the tires burning and how there was some good, it was beneficial to smell the tires burning. because it is so it's like a symbolic moment or whatever. I mean, that's the worldview of these people. I mean, just letting their state burn to the ground. They want that for America, right? Caroline's right when she pointed out the sort of radical California West Coast type agenda. This is not your Midwest conservative who happens to have a D after his name. He is a radical progressive Democrat in every sense of the word. He was advocating for ladder companies to go over the wall at the border. He gave out illegal alien, he gave IDs to illegal aliens, benefits to illegal aliens. He's overtly doing that. DEI, all of the stuff we saw here, transgender legislation. He is a radical, and he represents that wing of the Democrat Party.
So this seems like the election did get a little. I mean, I know there's tight elections for some of your old colleagues involved, like Ted Cruz in Texas. I know that. I see the polls. Every year they say Ted Cruz is going to lose his seat, and then Ted Cruz blows out the competition. But I've seen this tightening, and everyone's seen the tightening in the polls. However, this seems like a mistake, man. I mean, this really does seem like a mistake. This is the imagery that I loved this morning. You just mentioned it, so we might as well pop it up from Heritage Foundation. Sort of the burning of the Minneapolis police station versus the Alpha Chads at the. So here's one vision of America, and here's the second vision of America. You can choose, right? Like you can choose, like Chad Bro, White Boy Summer, hold the American flag up, energy, or torching the American flag. They just burned an American flag on the grounds of Congress, right? Like with Bibi Netanyahu's speech, right? Like they just Kamala supporters just went and burned an American flag out front of your building. We saw the remnants of it. We were there the day afterwards. It's crazy, man.
No, it's actually insane. I always love it when they show the North Carolina frat boys. I mean, I'm a proud Texan, but I went to school at the University of Virginia, so I had a lot of road trips down Chapel Hill, as I like to call it. But we got into a lot of mischief down there, presumably with some of their forefathers, as it were, back in the 1990s. But look, and God bless them for holding up the flag. But that is the visual distinction. But I want to make clear my point about Minnesota, and the reason I brought up the joke about Mondale, making McGovern look like William the Conqueror. Like the fact is, we look at this through the lens of conservatives, right? Radical, progressive Democrats, crazy ideology, all this stuff, and maybe this is their Mondale moment. He got whacked. He got 3 electoral votes. Maybe that's how it turns out this fall. Our job is to do that. Our job is to go convince the American people, win overwhelmingly, have a mandate, take massive seats in the House, gain in the Senate, and then go, do what we said we would do and transform this country. But I'm telling you, they're confident. Now, they probably are confident because of their view about President Trump, and I think that's misguided on their part. I think they're showing their hand a bit here. But we are making a mistake if we don't take seriously that this ticket, as radical as it is a ticket they believe in, that they believe they can mobilize their people and win. This wasn't Kamala doing this in a vacuum, right? I mean, this was the entirety of their operation. They unite. You saw today, Joe Manchin was out there congratulating the pick of Governor Waltz. Remember Joe Manchin? He's the reasonable Democrat. He's the moderate Democrat. By the way, he's the reasonable moderate Democrat who gave us the Inflation Reduction Act when he could have stood in the way of it, but he didn't. But he is standing alongside Waltz. All of their, moderate members of whoever they are, they're all rallying around. My point is just this: we need to take it very seriously and highlight for the American people the situation about criminals being out on the streets, what it means for inflation spending, embrace of socialism, ladders at the border, open borders, IDs for illegals, and don't just dismiss this as crazy.
So vision cast for us, because I believe that they've made a horrible mistake here in their selection. I think they picked the worst of 2 bad picks, and all the normal white bread Democrat governors like from Kentucky and North Carolina, they all dropped out. They all voluntarily were like, I don't think so, actually. Like one meeting with Coconut Kamala, and you're like, no, I don't think so. But vision casting is what's going to win here. And so the Republican House, you go viral on our page every couple of weeks, Congressman, by giving an impassioned, angry speech on the floor of the House, and rightfully so. We're always on your side on that. But what people want is what do I get if I vote for Republicans?
Yeah. Well, this is what Republicans need to put out there, what the president needs to put out there. I mean, for my position, I can't promise you anything when I'm 1/435th of 1/2 of 1/3 of that disaster that is Washington, D.C. What I can promise you is to continue to fight and try to mobilize and build coalitions. Proud part of the Freedom Caucus, proud to work with President Trump. We've got to build a coalition to go execute on what we said we would do. That means restoring order, reclaiming sovereignty, and securing the border of the United States. If you want a country that is sovereign, if you want to make sure that the radical terrorists that are on the terror watch list that was just released yesterday, all of the data showing people getting flown in here who are criminals and terrorists, then vote Republican. We will secure the border. And if we don't, we should be thrown out on our ear. We will reduce all of the rampant spending that is driving up inflation. If we don't, we should be thrown out on our ear. We should make sure we end endless wars. We should have a strong military. We will work to have a strong military that is sparingly used, not in endless conflict, not blank checks to Ukraine, blank checks to the rest of the world, but thoughtful engagement that is a peace through strength worldview to minimize conflict and stop all these endless wars. These are the things we need to do. Root out all the radical stuff. Fire the bureaucrats. Right now, we have lots of people in D.C. We're working to figure out what we can do. When the law right now prohibits us from firing bureaucrats, we're going to figure out how to move them around, figure out what we need to do to pass legislation in Congress to root out the bureaucrats so we can end the woke and weaponized government that's going after the American people. These are all the things that I hear about on the road when I'm in the district. Just last night, I met with about 100 constituents about 30 miles west of here in Blanco, Texas, and Blanco County, Texas. And that's what they care about. Stop the government going after me. Let me live my life. Secure the border. A man is a man, a woman is a woman. Stop this woke transgender DEI nonsense. Stop endless wars, but yeah, I want a strong military that can destroy things. That's what Republicans need to deliver on, to things that people care about.
Just as an aside, and I know this is going to really piss off the comment section because you can't touch on an issue like this without people getting enraged. Yeah. But is this like the best barbecue in Texas, in Blanco, Texas? Like, is your district have the best barbecue in Texas?
So I'm smart enough politician not to pick which barbecue place is the best barbecue place, but I will tell you that Texas 21 and the surrounding areas, if I'm going to be fair, has the best barbecue in the country. Here, I got to include Lockhart, which is not in my district, it's over on the east side, but we have an extraordinary barbecue here in the state of Texas. It really is truly the best. So you got Black's Barbecue in Austin, you've got Cooper's, which is just north of my district up in Atlanta, Salt Lake, 5 miles down the road from my house. You've got great spots all throughout my district, probably about 30 or 40 places. Lockhart, which is about 30 miles out of the district, has great barbecue over there. So we are the barbecue center of the universe, with all due respect to Kansas City and my pork-loving friends in the South. And by the way, my friends in the South are pork-loving in both the political sense and the barbecue sense, because a lot of Southerners love their earmarks.
Okay. It's spicy. It's a spicy one here with Congressman. I didn't know you live 5 minutes from the Salt Lick. Salt Lick is some of the best barbecue I've ever had in my life, and I don't call myself an aficionado. I just like what I like. And bro, we got to go there, Congressman. I'll bring my camera crew. I'll bring my team, and we'll do like a little. I know they've had a number of documentaries done on them, but you should take me there, and we can do like a big barbecue thing about Texas.
And if you want to do it, we can do a taste of barbecue. We can go hop around, or
freaking
we can
love
go
that
to a place, bring some
I
in,
love
and
that.
compare barbecue.
The reason why, everyone might say there's so much at stake. Why do you talk about this? Well, because of steak, because meat. They hate meat. They don't want you to eat meat. The goal is to get you to eat the bugs. They are threatened by barbecue.
This is actually important, right? If we don't win this election, you're not going to have the internal combustion engine. You're not going to have steak and barbecue. They want to take all of that away. And they're not even kidding. They're fine with the Chinese owning our meat packing plants. They want the USDA to prohibit you from being able to have a ranch sell your beef to a local market and get it to the local restaurant. They don't want you to have that. So I'm happy to go thumb our nose at the radical progressives by eating a large mountain of brisket seasoned properly and ribs and all of the fixings in a cold beer and stick our middle finger up at them and say, this is how we're going to live.
You can tell me how to do a proper brisket, right? Because I know that gets people going nuts, right? What is real brisket, right? What is the way to do proper brisket?
Well, the history of it here is the heat in Texas in the late 1800s when my family came here, and about a few miles down the road is where my great-great-great-grandparents are buried. They came here and they had to season their meat, right? I mean, that's what they did. And so, the salt and the pepper and the seasoning of the brisket, that's the long history of why that's been the case. And it's why we have the best brisket around.
This is something that we got to put in a little mini doc. Let's do that. In calmer times, Congressman, you can find me at the Salt Lick, and I'll meet you there, and you can show us real Texas barbecue, and it'll cause people to rage in the comment section. They'll say, no, we have the best barbecue. We have the best barbecue. It'll be great.
It'll be great because they'll be wrong, and we'll be right down here. So I appreciate it.
I like ribs. I got to tell you, like if given just one option to grab, I'm going to like good, properly smoked barbecued ribs is for me. So
amen. Amen. Well, we're in. We'll do it. We're the heart of the barbecue, but you got to have a nice cold beer with it. So my
man, Shiner Bach on me. Thank you, Congressman. Godspeed, and everybody follow the great Congressman Chip Roy from Texas. 400,000 Americans can't be wrong. Let's get them to 1 million and make sure that our friends are powerful and have the strongest voice that we can possibly lend to them. Godspeed, Congressman.
Thanks, Benny. God bless.